into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome in. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. We've got Lawrence with us too, spinning the dials and chiming in as always. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like the video there on the YouTube. Smash it. Smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel as well. Make sure you're subscribed to our podcast feed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you are subscribed and following and leave us a 5-star review because a 4-star review is a 0-star review. So just leave a 5-star review and help us out. So, fellas, a bit of a slow news day, huh?
Not a typical day in Blackhawks land.
Boy, oh boy. It feels like every time we end our show, a whole bunch of stuff happens. And it's kind of too hard to go through chronologically. But the kind of the latest thing is that Patrick Kane misses practice today with a maintenance day, right? That's kind of the latest thing. Jake McCabe also, Luke Richardson said he threw up 8 times, so he's got the flu. Meanwhile, last night, the Rangers scratched Vitali Kravtsov and Jake Leschyshyn ahead of their game for like trade protection reasons. They basically flat out said it. And as we heard earlier this week, the Rangers are back in the Patrick Kane sweepstakes. So it almost seems like I'm ready to say a foregone conclusion that Patrick Kane is going to the Rangers. It certainly feels that way to me. Fellas, how are you feeling about it at this moment? 2:35 p.m. on Friday, February 24th, 2023 in the year of Hosa.
I feel that we have seen Patrick Kane's last game at the United Center as a Blackhawk. That happened Sunday. He should have had that buzzer beater just to make it, or Tuesday, whatever. I don't even know what day it is anymore. It doesn't matter. Whatever that last game was, whatever day of the week that happened, that was the last time he's played. He will play in the Blackhawks uniform at the United Center. There's just too much smoke right now. There's a big fire here, and yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy that the Rangers somehow pull off trades for both Tarasenko and Kane in the matter of, a few days apart. And it's going to be hilarious when they get knocked out in the first round by the New Jersey Devils. Because, when was the last time that teams that go crazy at the deadline to get superstar players, how often does that actually pay off? Usually it's the team that just adds a third line center or a fifth defenseman because they already have a complete team. But that's a discussion for another day. I really think it's Blackhawks and Rangers. It just seems like that's been the destination for the longest time. We heard when they got Tarasenko how disappointed Kane was. And then that, of course, got everybody saying, well, now he's not going to get traded. But I'm already getting it on Twitter and in other forms of social media. We've been telling you for weeks to temper your expectations of a return, and I'm already hearing, if it's only this guy and that guy, Kyle Davis shouldn't get fired. Well, you're a moron. I'm sorry. Flat out. We've been telling you, and if the Rangers are the only team he wants to go to,
yes,
what leverage does Kyle Davidson have? It's zero. None. So he's going to take what he can get at this point, because then the distraction is over and all this stuff, and he can move on. And it's, to me, it's the right thing to do. We can get into it. Should he stick around later on? But it's time to move on. Kyle Davidson wants to make this his team. He wants to move on from the Stanley Cup era, move on from 2010. Pretty much everybody's gone from that whole thing except a couple of guys. There's one of them. Not saying that he had anything to do with that, but it's just a shadow over this new organization. It's time to get new stars. It's time to change the room, because no matter who happens, if Patrick Kane comes back for another 3 years, it's Patrick Kane's team. He's the face of this team while you're trying to get new stars. Connor Bedard hopefully gets here, or Lucas Reichel gets here, Frank Nazar gets here, and all they're going to want to do is just defer to Patrick Kane because he's Patrick Kane, and it's still Patrick Kane's team. So it's time to get the new guys in here, slowly but surely, get a new face of this team, and just go in a new direction. It's been an amazing ride. Patrick Kane is Mount Rushmore of Blackhawk players. There is no doubt about that. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. His 88, nobody will ever wear 88 again. He is a Blackhawk for life. But all great things come to an end, and this is the perfect time to move on.
Yep.
Yeah, at some point, I don't know, 10 days ago, a week ago, I was fully on board with the idea that Kane wasn't going to get traded. Obviously, the Tarasenko trade really made me feel that way, and the way that he was playing, it made me feel like the decision was going to be made for him, that NHL teams weren't going to give up what it would realistically take to get him. Figuring that the asking price and the condition that he was in and the way he was playing wasn't going to match up, and the injury issues, it seemed to be legitimately scaring teams away from trying to give up that much to get him. This week, it is undoubtedly that Kane, where there's smoke, there's fire, like you guys said. I think at this stage of the game, and Elliot Friedman said it on today's 32 Thoughts, at this stage of the game, with everything that's happened, with everything that's transpired, with the Rangers clearly trying to do what they can to make the cap room to fit Patrick Kane's reduced cap hit if the Blackhawks and a third team get involved. And the way that, Kane is still leaving things open to a discussion. He said it today. He said, as you see on the screen, if the Rangers can make the cap room work and Kane doesn't end up going to New York, jaws will drop. And that's how it feels. It feels like it would be a shock if Patrick Kane is not traded to not only the Rangers, but just in general traded, because it seems like that door has been completely kept wide open, which is weird because it, again, like I said, like I felt completely comfortable with the idea of, like, you know what, maybe he doesn't get traded, and that's okay, and he can figure out what he wants to do in the off season. Obviously, the draft lottery may have had an impact on that, but now it seems like it's inevitable, and everything that we've been hearing from trusted resources and whatnot is that it could be it could be by the end of the weekend, if not earlier, that something gets done. So yeah, I think it's come to that point. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long, drawn out process. Almost kind of almost a full year of contemplating and speculating what his future might be. And it seems like his future is going to be with the Rangers, at least for the rest of this season. As far as thinking about the return or anything like that, like, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of expectations from Blackhawks fans, expectations from Rangers fans as well. What they think that they would like to give up to get Patrick Kane, and what the Blackhawks would like to get back for Patrick Kane, and it'll land somewhere in the middle. I've seen some people from Rangers world saying, like, I wouldn't give up a third round pick for him this year, so how about a third next year for Kane straight up? And it's like, all right, buddy, have fun with that. And
yeah, go eat some terrible pizza, you mook.
and then I've seen people in Blackhawks land saying it should be their other first round pick this year, which would actually have to be the better of their two picks, because they already gave the worst of their two picks to the Blues. Their first this year, and Brennan Othman, and another pick and another prospect. Is like, holy smokes! Like, we're not trading 2013 Patrick Kane here. Like, we're trading 2023 Patrick Kane, who may or may not still be trying to play through an injury. So also temper your expectations there. It'll land somewhere in the middle. And, I think the idea of this being a Giroux situation where he only gives Kyle Davidson the Rangers to work with really sucks, because it seemed like it wasn't going to be that way. But if that ends up being the case, then those are the cards that Kyle Davidson has been dealt, and he's going to have to do the best he can. And to lay that on him is really reaching, because he was very clear in saying this is going to be not only Patrick Kane's decision, but Jonathan Toews' decision about what they want to do with their future. They've earned those rights contractually. I am not going to do anything to, hold their feet to the fire or anything like that. They've earned the right to make that decision on their own, in their own time. And he stuck to it, which I can appreciate. If you really want to be upset at anybody in the situation, which I mean, what's the point at this point of being?
There's no one to be upset with. Like this is what it is. Like the championship window's shut. The dynasty is over. Both Kane and Taves are unrestricted free agents at the end of this year, and the Hawks are trying to get something. I think that's totally reasonable. And Phillips, I'm sorry, but trading Kane for returning Kravtsov is really disappointing if that happens. I think disappointing is a fair thing to say because we all came into this season thinking about when we would be having this discussion for real and saying like, wow, you could really revitalize, take another year off and get a pick and a prospect and all this stuff. But again, if Patrick Kane says, I only want to play for the Rangers, that's it.
Yeah.
There's only so much Kyle Davidson can do. And we've been trying, like we said, we've been trying to prepare you for this for months and months and months and weeks and weeks and weeks, saying like, look, it's not going to be this franchise altering thing. If you get a first round pick back, be happy. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's not going to be just Kravtsov. That's not going to be the only return, but it's not going to be one of these earth shattering franchise altering sort of things because Chris Drury can say, I already have Tarasenko. We're pretty damn good as it is. We'd love to have Patrick Kane, but I am of no obligation to make this trade work for you. And then you have Patrick Kane saying, okay, fine. I'd like to be traded. I'd like to be traded to Rangers. The Hawks, now that they have allowed that, right, they kind of have to make it happen. They can't say, well, we tried and it didn't work. After all this, they can't say, well, we tried and it didn't work.
I mean, they don't have to, but you'd like to.
I think that if you want to do right by Patrick Kane, that's what you do. I think if he says he wants to be traded, then you fulfill that for him.
Here's the thing. If you can be disappointed with the return, there's going to be a large sum of people, no matter what. Our guy, Michael Coletta, will be one of those guys, no doubt. There's one person and one person only you should be mad at if the return isn't satisfactory to you. And that's Patrick effing Kane. Why? Because it seems like he's only given the Blackhawks one option for a trade. The other reason, up until this past 4 games, he's been pretty much invisible most of this year. His play hasn't garnered this amazing return that we all expected. He's played like ass most of this year. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's been invisible and ineffective for a majority of this season. In the last 4 games, he's turned it up and been the Patrick Kane we all know and love. Had he been that for 50% of this season, maybe there'd be more of a return. So if he only gives Kyle Davidson one team and he hasn't played up to his standards for much of the season, what's Kyle Davidson supposed to do? So put your anger at a disappointing return to one person, the guy that's been in control of it the whole time.
All right, so here's a comment. We've heard this a lot on Twitter and from other people. This is Garrick in the chat. Says a lower first isn't worth it for Kane. I don't get why building around him isn't even mentioned.
Have you watched him play this year?
Yeah, like guys, think about before this week. We spent many of our shows talking about, God, this guy should shut it down. Now, is he that hurt that he's this ineffective? He looked disinterested. He looked checked out. That is real. That is a reality. And remember, what everyone's crediting this fire under Patrick Kane being is the fact that people are saying, like, well, he's done. He doesn't have anything left. And then the theory is Patrick Kane heard those rumors and was like, no, I'm still pretty good. Watch this. Well, where was it for the 49 games prior, right? And I'm not trying to, like, soften losing Patrick Kane. I understand that. And I agree with you that if you want to sign Patrick Kane again for 4 more years and keep him around, it's not going to hurt anyone. It's not going to stunt anyone's development. It's not going to take ice time away from anyone. But I do think there is a desire from the organization to just let the past be the past and move on. Like Greg said, if Patrick Kane is in that room, it's not his fault, but it does not allow the next generation of leadership for this team to really take hold, because that presence is unignorable, if that's even a word. Like that guy, no one can really step up and be the leader of that team with Patrick Kane there. And I understand what you're saying. And if they were to resign him, I'd say, cool. I'm down for 3-4 more years of Patrick Kane. That's fine. But it feels like both parties have sort of decided that this is the end for Patrick Kane in a Hawks uniform, be it, March 3rd, be it tonight, be it tomorrow, whenever, or at the end of the season. I think both parties have moved on. Patrick Kane clearly wants to win again. His heart is in New York, which is good for him. That's what everyone thought was going to happen when the season began, right? It was everyone said Kane Rangers. It hasn't gone away, and he outwardly expressed his disappointment when they traded for Tarasenko. He said, "Oh, if things were going to happen, that was one of the places I wanted to go. I think that is the place he wants to go. He doesn't want to go to Dallas. Come on, can you know what I mean? Going to the Rangers, an original 6 team, to play with his buddy Artemi Panarin and have a legitimate shot at winning a cup. All those things, huge market, all the spotlights, all the showtime, everything you want. That's where Patrick Kane belongs. If it's not in Chicago, it makes perfect sense. That's where he wants to be, and it looks like he's going to do what he can to make it happen.
Yes, and it is a bummer to have your all-time legendary player go, but this is the best move for this franchise right now. This isn't trading Patrick Kane in 2014 when he's in his prime for table scraps. This isn't the Cubs trading away Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez in the matter of minutes while they still had plenty left in the tank. This is a guy that's
Rizzo, though, seemed to have anything left in the tank.
Well, but they were only 3-4 years removed from a championship. We are 8 years removed from the last Stanley Cup. 8. It's the end of the contract.
Playoff series win.
Yeah,
you can, if you want to count 2020 in the bubble. Cool.
I don't.
The last real playoff series they won was in Tampa at the United Center.
Was the Stanley Cup final. They haven't won a playoff series in 8 years. It's the timing is right. It's time to where, hey, if you want to do a rebuild, you want to tear it down to the studs, you got to take the studs out. And Patrick Kane is the biggest stud the Blackhawks may have ever had. But it's okay. It sucks as a fan. It does. But the timing is right. Big picture for the future. Now, you're right, Jay. Bringing him back for another 3 years, sure, it doesn't hurt anything, but it's not. I don't think the Blackhawks want that. I don't
know what it accomplishes.
It doesn't really anything because we've seen it this year. Okay, he can maybe break Stan Mikita's point record. He's going to need 80-something points 3 years in a row. I don't think he's doing that. He's proven this year he's not capable of doing that unless he A, gives a shit, and B, has some talent around him. And he's not going to get a ton of talent with him next year for sure. So I think it's just time to, thank you, shake your hands. Hey, when this is all said and done, our door is open for you. You want to come back in any capacity, you want to take over and shake hands and kiss babies or kiss babies and or kiss hands and shake babies, whatever you want to do.
That's bad.
Not that hard.
Don't shake babies. Jesus. The last thing the Blackhawks need is Patrick Kane shakes baby. Kane shakes baby headline.
Why I don't have kids. I don't have kids.
Well, let them right before you shake them. Shake a top, not a baby. All right.
All right, fine. Shake it. Whatever. You get my point. Don't. There's no. It's time. It's the perfect time. This is it. Everybody's been preparing themselves for this all season long. I think a lot of the fan base has already they're okay with it. They've come to terms with Patrick Kane no longer being a Blackhawk, with Jonathan Toews no longer being a Blackhawk. They've come to terms with it. So just let's make it happen. It's like, what happens if all of a sudden then he does come back and then people are like, well, man, we went through all that crap for nothing.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too. People are like, well, it's not enough to give, whatever they're going to get for Kane, it's not going to be enough. Okay. So sign him for 4 more years. Then he's 38. And then the trade deadline comes. And then what are you getting for him? Either way, you're going to lose him for nothing or not enough, right? Whatever your mindset is. If you can get a pick in this draft, even if it's a 2nd round pick in this draft, we have talked about this. It is 60 players of 1st round caliber. That's what the experts are saying. So a 2nd round pick in this is it will probably be later in the round, of course. I understand that, but and again, the more of these assets that Davidson acquires, let's say the draft lottery doesn't go as planned and he lands on 3 or he lands on 4 and he says, well, I'm going to give you 3. I'm going to give you Tampa's pick And I'm going to give you the second we got for Patrick Kane to move up to 2 and take Adam Fantilli. All these, like, this draft is so important to get one of those top 2 guys. I really believe that. Bedard is the dream. Fantilli is a wonderful consolation prize, right? He's going to be really, really good too. So if for whatever reason the lottery doesn't work out in the Hawks' favor, be it they don't finish with the worst record or the ping pong balls don't drop in their favor, whatever it is, they've got the assets needed to move up if they want to, and they think it's necessary. So look, I think if we've learned anything from Kyle Davidson, whether or not you agree with the rebuild, whether or not you agree with trading Patrick Kane, he clearly has a vision. He's clearly thinking ahead. He's preparing for things that could be coming. He's got plan A, B, C, D, E, instead of the last guy who was like, just right in front, whatever's right in front of my face is what I will deal with. And then let the consequences be damned next year and the years beyond. He has a plan 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And if he's got that, you know he's got a plan for what's going to happen in May when those ping pong balls fall.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's all I want from my GM.
Yeah. Being able to have a plan and stick to it and, be able to see already that there is some movement forward in that plan with how his first draft, Kyle Davidson's first draft class is already looking in their, first season beyond it. Being able to do that, being able to make tough decisions like trading Alex DeBrincat and Kirby Dach to get picks that they didn't have, to get prospects that they didn't have, to build back up the prospect system. That was one of the biggest check boxes that he had to do right away. And even without Connor Bedard, he's made a huge improvement in their prospect system. So being able to have a plan, stick to it, see already some fruition from it is great. With how the next 2-3 seasons are going to go with Patrick Kane, like if he wants to come back, then that has to come. I know people want Patrick Kane to come back, sign in the summer, be traded, come back, sign in the summer, and blah 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 blah. Like, how often does that actually happen? Very, very rarely. And if he is going to come back, there has to be some sort of discussion between Kyle Davidson and Patrick Kane where it's like, okay, like you're going to sign this, 4-year, we're going to offer you this 4-year deal, whatever it is. At the end of it, like, we have no plans in trading you. This is a deal that we expect you to ride out the rest of your career as a Blackhawk. I think there needs to be that kind of discussion. I think there also needs to be a discussion in which he says, like, hey, like, look, like, we told you what the plan was going to be. It was going to be rebuild. It was going to be, getting rid of as many assets as possible or as many players as possible to bring back future assets to rebuild this organization from the bottom up. So if you're coming back, expect to probably lose again next season. Expect what you went through in 2022-23 to kind of happen again. Like, maybe there's a couple more younger guys around that are a little bit more exciting, but expect losses again. And, it would have to also then come with an understanding of, like, with these younger guys coming in, they're going to take your place eventually. And so you have to be okay with that. And we as the Blackhawks front office would expect you to kind of work with us to allow that to happen. If you come in and say, like, well, I'm still Patrick Kane, I'm still the MF and best, I'm the biggest, guy in the locker room, and it's me at the top and everyone else is beneath me. With that, if you have that kind of attitude or that kind of, hierarchy in the locker room, then there's going to be issues. So I would love for him to ride out the rest of his career as a Blackhawk. It's not going to happen. I fully expect him to be traded, and I don't expect him to come back in the summer. But if he did, it would have to, like, there would have to be some sort of, like, understanding that your role is not going to be the same. And I don't know if that's going to be the case, because I think Patrick Kane, him personally, like, you see the way he's playing, if he was playing out of spite, out of revenge, whatever, he's going to keep doing that. He's going to keep saying, well, everyone wants me to retire, so I'm going to play until I'm 40, like I'm Tom Brady, and keep showing you that I still can do it. I still can, be a top tier player, be an elite winger in the NHL, all this stuff. And I don't know. I just don't see that mentality of like, okay, I'm going to hand over the reins to the next era happening in Chicago with him. It just doesn't seem like that's something that he would super be okay with. Like, because that to me, then that would seem like for him, he's saying like, okay, this is the end of my career. It's coming in Chicago, where I don't think he thinks this is the end of his career. So I don't know. I know there's a lot of hope, Chicago hope that's going to happen. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
Our buddy Tom Quinn has a quote saying, after seeing what Boston gave up to get Orlov and Hathaway, I would think a return like what they got is appropriate for McCabe and Lafferty. That's different because McCabe and Lafferty, like Orlov and Hathaway, don't have no movement clauses. When we're talking about Patrick Kane, who can dictate where he goes. Look, no one is saying, and I know you're not saying this either, Tom. I want to call it as an example. I do think the Hawks' biggest return at the deadline, if they move him, is Jake McCabe. I think that's going to give them the biggest return for a player. It's on salary, term, the fact that there's other teams that can get involved instead of just the one that Patrick Kane gives. So I know, look, I don't want to tell people to not be sad or upset or disappointed that Patrick Kane's gone. It is natural. I said after the game the other night, like after the hat trick game, or no, the overtime winner. But I forget what game, whatever game it was. Patrick Kane had a great game, and I was like kind of feeling emotional about it because it's like, wow, this is probably the last time we're going to see this from this guy. That's real. Like, I got a banner right there over my shoulder. Sure, hasn't been updated with the 3 most recent cups, but it's a banner. I got a jersey behind me. Like, this whole room is filled with Blackhawks stuff. And the reason the 3 of us are here, I say it all the time, is because of that team. And it's normal and natural to feel sad and upset that it's over. But it's over. At some point you have to move on. And they've already waited 3 years too long to move on. They waited too long. And that's why they have to do it this way. That's why this is the only option, and it sucks and it hurts, and it's going to be another season of painful losing hockey. But it is to not get anything for Patrick Kane would be negligent. It'd be negligent, and maybe Kravtsov isn't great, and whoever else they get back in the trade too, and maybe the draft pick doesn't pan out. But to just potentially let him walk, that's negligent. Just for what? To sell tickets to 5 more games? It's.
No, and the people complaining about the possible return, they're not trading for Hart Trophy winning 2015 Patrick Kane. They're trading for 2023 Patrick Kane, who up until a week ago was a guy who occasionally can make a nice play. They're not trading for that guy. They're trading for 3 months of 2023 Patrick Kane. They don't get the 3 Stanley Cups. They don't get all the records with it. They get 2023 Patrick Kane for 3 months. So I'm not exactly sure what you're expecting guys to, up until 4 games ago, had 9 goals on the season.
Yep.
So you got to separate the past to the guy that he is right now. And Kravtsov and Zach Jones, a defenseman, because we need another Jones, would have 3 Jones and 3 Johnsons. This is. Wow. And, those are guys that don't fly off the page as, oh my God, great guys. But both of those guys, Kravtsov will be in the top 6 the second he is here in Chicago, and he will be in the top 6 next year. There's no doubt about that. And Jones will play on the defense. Jones was, I believe, Mario, you said that he was rated each of the last 2 years as their number 2 prospect heading into the season.
Yeah, Scott Wheeler had him at number 2 last year and this year, and everything that I've been hearing about Zach Jones from people in the know is that he's just a casualty of the left side of the Rangers being kind of fit at the NHL level, so he's just stuck in the AHL. If he was on most other teams, he'd be playing in the NHL. So there's a 21-year-old who by all accounts should be in the NHL. Like that's not nothing.
So if you get two guys who are immediately on your NHL roster and will be here next year and maybe beyond if they just needed the opportunity to play elevated roles, elevated minutes, and they become legit NHL players. Kravtsov was drafted 9th overall his draft year. He's not some scrub. He's a guy that just hasn't had the opportunity. Now, he hasn't forced the Rangers into giving him a higher, and he's been kind of a pain in the ass, but listen, maybe he just needs to get out of there and things happen. So if you get Kravtsov and Jones, two guys that could potentially be in the NHL for the next handful of years and be productive, and say a second round pick for Kane, I'm happy with that return. Two legit NHL prospect, like NHL ready players who are step up from your Taylor Radish, Boris Tkachuk haul from last year, in my eyes. Maybe not, but and you get a second round pick. Somebody said earlier the Rangers don't have a second round pick. They actually do. It was involved in that Andrew Kopp trade, but then there were a million different conditions, and the Jets had like a choice of either keeping last year's second round pick or getting last year's second round pick or this year's, and they chose last year's or something. So the Rangers do have a second round pick in this year's draft, so they can trade it. I'm not a mathematician or law major, so I can't exactly explain how they have it, but they have it.
Yeah, they do. Would you rather have a second this year or a first next year?
From
the Rangers, probably a second this year.
Yeah, probably the second this year because you've done your research on your draft, and and you, again, as you mentioned earlier, Jay, you could take it and use it as package to get something better.
Right.
The Hawks have so much ammunition heading into the draft as far as moves they can make.
Sure, but just to look at it the other way, Tarasenko is a free agent after this year. After this season, if they get Patrick Kane, he's an unrestricted free agent, and they're not exactly flush with cap space. So I think it's pretty realistic that next year they won't finish as strongly as they do this year.
Probably not.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of happy either way. But yeah, I think what you're saying is true. Jones and Kravtsov and a second round pick this year or a first next year, that's fine with me because you got two guys you plug into the lineup right away. And look, like no one here heard of Taylor Radish before the trade happened, right? And he came in and has been pretty good. He's been pretty good. And when the team's ready to win again, you got a really solid third line guy who can add some scoring punch and some versatility should injuries occur, and you can move him up and down the lineup. Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, 2 first-round picks, right? Yeah. But that's what we're talking about. That's like the McCabe sort of a deal versus the Kane kind of deal.
And if you get a guy like Kravtsov and you get a guy like Zach Jones, those are guys who can be in your lineup next year and give us something to watch and talk about. So that would be great.
Yes, that's that.
Young players who may or may not actually make a difference in the future. Bring them on. Yeah. Bring them on, please, for the love of money. Bring them on.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm just ready to talk and watch new players. Like I'm excited to see Zaitsev, which is crazy because I know he's good, but like it's just someone different that we can talk about.
Yeah. And then we'll be like, oh God, do we have to keep talking about it?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, hey, maybe, yeah, who knows?
Who knows? That's right.
That's the theme of this week. Who knows?
Greg, where can I get a Hawks banana hammock?
Well, I'll tell you.
Oh, you're doing it.
Yeah. Mario's our resident banana hammock expert, apparently.
Okay. I have been doing a lot of banana hammock research in my free time.
Good.
And I have come to find that the best options that you could have for a Blackhawks banana hammock is with our friends over at FOCO. They have the best quality athletic apparel for all your favorite teams, commemorative signs and bobbleheads and all the good stuff. You've already got the best coverage of your favorite teams with us here at CHGO, so why not get outfitted in the best gear around? FOCO's got you covered from Soldier Field to the living room, north side or south side. They got hoodies, slippers, signs, bobbleheads, everything in between. You can get decked out like your favorite players with apparel from the leader in sports merch and collectibles. Again, that's FOCO. Looking for the perfect gift for the football fan or basketball fan or hockey fan in your life, FOCO has got you covered. I know that I am a big fan of the, I don't know the official title, but it's the very nicely like Sherpa hoodie wearable blanket. It is amazing. I got the Blackhawks one. I'm sure they have them in all of your favorite Chicago teams that help you keep you nice and warm as we ride out this last couple of weeks of winter and get into spring, and hopefully the summer hits us before August. Check out foco.com or check out the link in the description below. And when you do, use the promo code CHGO, and you're going to get 10% off of all non-pre-sale items. Again, that's foco.com, and we have a link in the description if you'd like to follow that as well.
And a QR code on your screen.
Yes.
So scan that. That's fun. That's a good time. And hey, we've been telling you for weeks that last home game before the trade deadline, March 2nd against the Dallas Stars, was like dirt cheap on Game Time. It still is. You can get in for $20, but we were talking about what, like 16, 15,
$12 it was down to.
The last couple weeks. People have finally gotten the message that that's the game they might want to check out, but now
those prices might be going even further down here.
Might not last that long.
So I
we'll give you $9 to come to this game.
Right. Come see the Nikita Zaitsev experience. But hey, whenever you're looking for Hawks tickets or tickets to your favorite show or baseball game or NBA game or football game, whatever, if it's a show, if it requires a ticket, you can find it on Game Time, the hottest new ticketing site. It makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Like I said, you want to sit 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate. You want to sit behind the penalty box and get in a fight with someone like that dude did against Ty Domi. That was smart. That worked out well for that guy. Floor seats at a concert. It is possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy, and you won't find a better deal this season on Blackhawks tickets. And if you do, all you got to do is reach out to Game Time and say, hey, what happened? Why is it cheaper on this crappy site and not cheaper on your site? They say, well, that's not right, and we're going to fix it, and they're going to guarantee you the lowest price, so you have nothing to lose. Created by fans for the fans, so you know they've got your interest at heart and not the interest of those big money-making corporations that are evil and killing the country. If you love CHGO, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people, including me, Greg, and Mario, who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. Again, that game, March 2nd, that's a Thursday, $20 gets you in the building to see the Dallas Stars and your Chicago Blackhawks.
David Gust.
Yeah, there you go.
It could be his home debut.
Probably will be.
The entire Gust family is heading over to Game Time to buy tickets for that game.
Yeah, probably all of Orland Park is buying up those tickets. That's why the price is going up.
Yeah, they can afford it. The other thing that I know a couple of people have said it, we talked about a little bit, like this idea of Patrick Kane resigning in Chicago in the summer. If dream all you want, I just think do not get your hopes up and don't be disappointed when it doesn't happen, because the decision is being made to move on, right? Mm-hmm. And is there a chance? Maybe a 5% chance, but I don't know why Patrick Kane at this point in his career, once he's already agreed to be moved, would say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back and play with Nikita Zaitsev and David Gust and all these great young players. It's just time for everybody, but there is a chance. But just I just beg you not to spend your entire summer up to July 1st wishing and hoping and praying that Patrick Kane's going to sign on the dotted line with Kyle Davidson. It's just not very much in the cards.
The only guy I could possibly see that gets traded this year, a legit chance of coming back, would be Max Domi. He's a guy that has stated that he's loved playing here. Now, he may not like playing here without Patrick Kane so much. That's helped a little bit. He's definitely benefited, but you know, it's been a good fit for both him and the team. And I think that's a guy you can bring back next year. You know, give him a little bit of a raise, and because you're going to need to spend the money somewhere, and you know,
you got to pay him. You got to pay him like a number one center.
Well, he's going to be your number one center if you bring him back. So, you know, I think that's the one guy that probably that might happen to, and even that is probably a long shot. But if Kane gets traded here in the next few days, he's not coming back. Not until they retire number 88. You know, they have one more shift night with Patrick Kane. You know, it's just not going to happen. I think if he wants to re-sign here, he's going to say, I want to stay and let's just get a new contract. They would have signed him already by now and they would have avoided all of this for this whole season if he legitimately wanted to do that. So, it sucks. It does suck, but it's what it is. It's the part of the sports business, sports world. Not everybody plays forever. All good things, whatever cliche you want to use, this is what it is. And at least getting something, be it a disappointing return if you were expecting the world, if it's a great return, if you weren't expecting, whatever they get back, getting something for him and moving on. It's, to me, it's the right move and it's the right time.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mario.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, if he's getting to this point now where he's saying, like, yes, I want to be traded, like, I don't know. I try and get into the mindset of a player sometimes, even though I'm very far from it. I try and get to that mindset and think, like, okay, if I'm an icon of this team. I've played my entire adult life has been in Chicago. I'm making this big decision that's gonna be a big shift and a big moment in my career. If I'm making this decision to say, like, look, I want to be competitive, I want to go chase another Stanley Cup, that to me feels like a guy who's like, you know what, I think the chapter of Chicago is closed and I think I want to go see what else is out there. I want to go see what other opportunities are going to be out there for me to continue to play at a high level to finish my career. And look, like, if Patrick Kane goes out, gets traded this summer, signs a 3 or 4 year deal with another team, and then is a free agent in 27 and is 38 years old and says, like, I got one more year left in me, I'm going back to Chicago, and plays a third line role as a old man on a team that's looking to contend on a cheap 1 year, like, hey, I'm back in town deal. Fine. There's your send off.
Yeah. Why not?
And then he gets to lift the cup after Connor Bedard passes it to him.
There you go.
Yeah.
The deal.
And as Garrett mentions, he mentions the Penguins. And I had people ask me that last night in our Diehards Discord channel and on Twitter. Why can't they just do what the Penguins are doing with Crosby and Malkin? And why? What are the Penguins doing?
They're not going to win.
They're going to be stuck in the middle for a decade or more because they need to keep on. They need to hold on to the past. Penguins may make the playoffs this year, maybe. And if they do, and that Eastern Conference, here's 5 games. See you next fall.
Right.
And that's what it's going to be for the next umpteen years.
I'd like to point out too that Sidney Crosby has 69 points in 57 games this year. So
Nice.
Let's not compare Kane and Crosby.
Right. No, Crosby is still Crosby is like, is a player that people are forgetting about how good he still is. He's not in the conversation he hasn't declined much, but it's going to happen during the duration of that contract. Malkin, he's not worth what he's getting paid for. When he is on the ice, which is not often, he's not the player he was. Chris Letang, talk about guys whose body is trying to tell him to stop playing professional hockey. That guy's one of them. So they're going to be stuck in the middle. Sure, you got Sidney Crosby and that's great, but you're going to have very little cap space to do anything worthwhile. You're going to be drafting 17th to 22nd every year for the next 5 years. Where do you go? So do you want to hang on to Kane and be a fringe playoff team and play 4 or 5 playoff games a year and never get an elite player unless you completely luck out? Or do you want to just say, screw it, let's try and get the next Patrick Kane here and be bad for the next couple of years, but we're not guaranteeing, but we're giving ourselves a really good chance to get the guy that can maybe one day pass Patrick Kane's totals. Yeah. It's worth a shot.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the point you're making, Greg, but I'm just going to say Evgeny Malkin at 36 is 58 points in 57 games. It's pretty good. But it also says, like, Malkin is not playing like Kane. He's playing better.
They're both better than Patrick Kane.
Right.
Like, that's a reality. Like, I know we all got warm and fuzzies about Patrick Kane, and we should, But right now, both those guys are vastly superior to Patrick Kane. The other thing, and part of the reason the Penguins can still do this, is because unlike the Blackhawks prior GM, those guys took a hometown discount to stay in Pittsburgh and keep them competitive.
Yeah.
Taves and Kane did not do that. Again, they're not obligated to do that. But when things start to go south, because you have to keep dispatching Teuvo Teravainen and good young player after good young player after good young player to keep these guys around and keep them on the team, this is what happens, right? And now they're in a situation. Instead, with Crosby, he's making 8.7. He's making almost $2 million less than Patrick Kane. Evgeny Malkin's making 6.1. That's a bargain. Chris Letang is making 6.1.
Well, and those are contracts they signed as 35-year-old plus players. So,
right?
Didn't Malkin just re-sign?
Malkin and Letang did.
But Crosby is still underpaid at 35 years old.
Right. Yeah. So like that's a factor too, and that's why the Kyle Davidson is left now cleaning up the mistakes of the past. And the reason the Hawks are so bad that they have to rebuild is because of those contracts that the last GM signed. That's it. That's a fact. And instead of saying, like we were talking about yesterday with the Blues potentially looking to get Timo Meier, right? Like, well, why would they do that? Well, he's 26 years old. They got rid of the glory boys, O'Reilly and Tarasenko, because they're old and don't have much more to offer the Blues at this point in time. And they're going to take a shot at bringing in another young, really good player so they don't have to go full rebuild. If the Hawks had done that and said, hey, we got to keep Teuvo Teravainen and Artemi Panarin around here. Sorry, Kane. Sorry, Taves. Sorry, Keith. But we got to keep refreshing here. We'd be in a totally different spot right now. But because you didn't do that, this is where we are. And the only thing Kyle Davidson can do is exactly what he's doing right now. And again, as a fan, it sucks. None of us are enjoying the games this year. There's been a few. There's been a handful of entertaining games, but you think like we like talking about a loss night after night? No. We want to see this team win as much as anybody does.
These last four, as far as entertainment value, have been great. Yeah. But everything else around it, tank standings and all of everything like that is like, well, things you hate to care about, but you have to care about.
Yeah. And speaking of the Blues, boy, Craig Berube, he is talking himself right out of a damn job. I think there's no way he's back next year. I'm shocked he made it this far, to be honest with you. I thought he was going to get fired back in November when they lost all those games in a row. Totally underachieving this year, and then he's going to call out his stud number one center for future, saying he's playing with no passion. Yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah, this is this when a coach does that. That is the last. I hate to use the violent term, but it's the last bullet in the gun.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
It's last resort.
Thank you, Mario. That's better.
Yeah,
I should have said that.
20 number one centers in their early 20s who just signed long-term deals. Those guys aren't replaceable. You know who are? Crotchety old coaches who can't keep his mouth shut. So I think Craig Berube will be an assistant coach somewhere next year. Guys like that never are fully out of a job. He'll get another gig days after he gets fired, but he won't be in St. Louis anymore. And St. Louis will be right back in content, like at least a playoff team next year, I think.
If you missed it, by the way, we should update you in case you're not following St. Louis Blues news passionately. He said after the game last night, a lot of our best players are not doing the job. He was asked why that is. He says, I don't know. You have to ask them. I guess they don't care about the team. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. When asked if enough guys were buying in, nope, a handful of guys, that's it. The goalie for sure.
Jordan Bennington's your lone ally. I think you've lost the room.
When asked about the play of Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas, again, two of their good, highly paid young players, Ruby said, not good enough, not even close. This is the last gasp of a coach about to be out on his ass.
Yep. He's a guy that knows he's going to get fired, and he's just going to announce to the world, it's not my fault.
That was who was the coach with the Stars that called the Ben and Sagan like horse shit players or something like that?
Wasn't it? It was Bonus, wasn't it?
Was it Bonus?
It was either Bonus or Montgomery.
I try to remember that, but yeah,
I think it was Bonus.
That's definitely got those vibes.
It was the Stars CEO, Jim.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the coach.
Jim Lights. Those are hard to hit with the dodgeball. He said
Not if you throw it hard enough.
That's what he said.
Gosh.
But wasn't that also the year though they ended up going to the Stanley Cup final? So it worked.
The bubble year?
Yeah, wasn't that the same year or maybe not?
Might have been. It was, yeah. The last 3 years of all a blur.
It's just really hard to watch the Blues be bad. We all hate it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's awful. I hate when their fans are disappointed. It's just the worst.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Let's make our fans happy and let's tell them about DraftKings Sportsbook. Stay tuned. The pick of the week is coming up in moments. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of CHGO and All City. They've got their no sweat NBA same game parlays. Major League Baseball, Cubs play, Sox play tomorrow. Yeah, it's spring training, but it's baseball and it's on my TV and I'm happy about it. Got to reload the bank. I'm down to 25 cents. Not so great, but I am going to wager on the pick of the week. So stay tuned and listen for that. And that will surely, Greg, get money back in my account, Greg. If it doesn't, I'm looking at you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code CHGO. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Yep, instantly. Right now, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. With code CHGO, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. And now it is time for the DraftKings pick of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Greg Boysen.
All right. Well, this is coming from the guy who has yet to actually put money back into his DraftKings account, but I will to specifically place this bet.
Doesn't mean you can't give advice.
Right. Sure. I can definitely tell you how to lose your money. But here's a winner.
All right.
Predict a winner. This is a good one. We have got lots of good games tonight in the NHL. I'm going to stick to the world of hockey. I do better when I bet on hockey as opposed to any other sport. Weird. Big game in our very own NHL Central Division tonight. The Winnipeg Jets, the Colorado Avalanche, possible playoff preview. Should be a good one. I am going to go with this 3-leg same game parlay for Jets and
spicy.
Jets and Avalanche taking over 6.5 goals. Shouldn't be a problem with these two offenses. Over 6.5 with a Kyle Connor anytime goal and a Mikko Rantanen anytime goal.
Ooh.
That parlay pays plus 575.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm thinking when I saw how high those odds were, that trio, I was like, oh, that seems too good to be true. But that, to me, that's a good value bet right there.
I like
there
that.
It is.
I like that.
Minimum bet 10 cents. I got enough money in my account.
Hey, you can make that bet twice.
Yeah.
Hey, but you bet $10, you come home with 57. That's my math.
If I bet by 25 cents, I get $1.68.
Hey,
there you go.
Back on the winning track.
That's a lot of profit right there.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good return.
Yeah, that's a nice bet. Good call, Greg. Play that. That is the points bet. The DraftKings pick of the week. You gotta jump on that and take advantage of that. Again, it is the over 6.5. Kyle Connor, anytime goal scorer. Mikko Rantanen, anytime goal scorer. That pays you plus 575 on the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Pretty safe bet. Connor Hellebuck is in net for the Nets or for the Jets, correct?
Yeah,
I'm just curious. Yeah, the over 6.5. I'm curious about how confident you are of just that, because that alone was plus 130, and I feel like, or at least when you do a same game. So I like plus money. So are we sure 7 goals?
I think it's Connor Hellebuck's one of the best goalies in the league, but I think it's gonna be. I mean, you need a 4-3 final score.
Mm-hmm.
Most games have at least that. And these are two teams that are going to be ramped up. Division rivals, possible playoff matchup. Standings are on the line. I think I think you get at least a 4-3 final score here.
All right, I'm in. I'll tell you.
If you're gonna go big, you might as well go all the way big, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I could have gone.
I could have said that so much better. Plus, if you're at plus 130, you might as well go to plus 575.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if there's 7 goals in that game, I like Kyle Connor and Mikko Rantanen to pick up one of each of them.
And if each of those guys hit, you're already at 2 goals. You only need 5 more.
4.5.
4.5. Well, yeah.
Lawrence, what is our like situation? How many likes do we have on this here video? Do we know?
We can't see it on our screen right now.
Yeah, we need more.
I am seeing over in the YouTube, I'm seeing 93, which is a good number.
Yeah.
We should probably get it to 100 though, don't you think?
Let's get to 100.
Let's get to 100, and if we get to 100, we will bank tank spin for tomorrow night. How about that?
That sounds fun.
All right.
Yeah. Don't we already have one banked from last night?
No, we didn't win it last night.
Number last night. People checked out. We got boring.
Oh, okay. Well, then screw them. Yeah. So we don't have any banked for tomorrow night. No.
Well, you do now because that almost immediately went to 101. So
perfect.
Awesome. Over 200 people watching. I mean,
if you want to make it 150, that's another banked in the spin wheel.
Sure. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, just these last few post-game shows today, lots of new faces, big live audiences. We love that. Don't go away after Patrick Kane is traded. We still got stuff and things to talk about.
Talk about Zaitsev.
Yeah, and we got Nikita Zaitsev and another Jones on the defense you can yell at when he allows a goal.
Hey, if you want your Lucas Reichel updates after March 3rd, these guys right here, we will give you as much of that content as you want.
We're going to be your Calder Cup playoff hookup.
Yeah.
Hopefully all the way till June. And then it's right into draft season.
Speaking of that, the rebuild report published moments before the show. So if you're a CHGO diehard, go check out Greg and Mario's rebuild report. If you're not, why?
Give it Give it 4 minutes. It's posting in.
You got it scheduled.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I said it to post after the show.
Okay. Good move.
We can't distract people with all this glorious Nikita Zaitsev talk going on.
I got that automated thing in Slack saying a new article's been posted, so that's why.
Oh well, yeah. I guess that's true. It's posted. It's at allchgo.com. It's just not on the social media sites yet. So.
There you go. All right. Well, if you want to become a diehard, allchgo.com. You get a free shirt or hat upon sign up, and every year upon renewal, and 20% off everything in the CHGO locker. All of our events, our takeovers, our tailgates, all that great stuff. It pays for itself very, very quickly to become a CHGO diehard. Okay, before we wrap up, fellas, Hawks play tomorrow night late. We're going to be on after the game, of course. Has Patrick Kane played his final game as a Blackhawk?
Oof, that's a long time till puck drop tomorrow.
And will they keep him out to protect him?
If he has gone ahead and said, yes, I'll go to the Rangers, and they are talking a trade and it hasn't been finalized, I don't think he plays tomorrow.
I don't think he plays tomorrow.
So yeah, I would say yes, he's played his last game with the Blackhawks. I'd be surprised if he's out there one way or the other.
Crazy.
Yeah. Because he took the maintenance day today, quote unquote. Yeah, and then he's got, 30 hours from now between now and puck drop for something to happen. Like, that's a long time when it comes to trade deadline season in the NHL. 30 hours. So
30 hours is like 30 days.
And
basically,
just happened in the last 24.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I would be surprised if he's on the ice tomorrow.
Yep, me too. All right, we'll see.
I'll also be surprised if Jake McCabe is on the ice tomorrow.
Well, he threw up 8 times today. Jesus.
He's gonna punch that flu right in the face, and he'll be back.
he's gonna punch his stomach and say, "Stop, stay in there." You gotta stay away from those tacos at Panther Arena.
Oof. Yeah, they do it to you every time. They take down elite athletes left and right.
Yes, they do.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap things up. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. Another huge show, and we cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. We really, really do. We appreciate you being here in the middle of your Friday. We're all just like you, waiting for the news to drop, but it feels like it's coming. So stay with us. If something should happen, between now and tomorrow night's game, surely at least one or two of us will be able to jump on and do something in an emergency fashion. So we're here for you when news happens. So make sure you're following us on Twitter at CHGO_Blackhawks. Follow CHGO_sports on Twitter as well for all of your Chicago sports and Blackhawks news. But in case anything happens, in case something doesn't happen, we'll talk to you after the game tomorrow night on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.